Everything we do is designed to empower someone. We empower farmers to flourish. We empower financial goals to be achieved. We empower healing to be found. I want to invite all of you to join with us in this mission.
Immunity. And you'll want to at least have a basic understanding of the immune system before we get to that. So, we have a pediatric infectious disease doc here to help us understand, in kid terms, what innate and adaptive immunity are. You may recognize him from the COVID Facebook series earlier this year. doTERRA Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Russell Osgathorpe.
Over the course of my career as a pediatric infectious diseases specialist, I've treated countless patients. One of these was a 6-year-old boy who will forever be etched in my memory. He had a rare form of leukemia, and his treatments decimated his immune system, making him vulnerable to all sorts of infections that wouldn't cause any of us any problem at all. I got to know him and his family closely over the course of his illness. He was infected with a virus common to childhood, which ended up destroying his lungs and taking his life, despite our best efforts to stop it. This is why immunity is central to all life on Earth. The immune system has received a lot of attention lately, and we have a good opportunity to separate some fact from fiction today. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but the fact is that without your immune system, you would die due to overwhelming infection. There's an endless list of things that can potentially damage your body, and you're exposed to these harmful substances, pathogens, and cellular changes on a daily basis. Your immune system detects and responds correctly to thousands upon thousands of microbial and antigen-related issues without you being conscious of its actions at any time. There are more microbial cells in and on our bodies than there are human cells in our body. Keeping the invaders out of places in our bodies they should not be is incredibly important. Here's where your immune system enters the picture. It plays this vital role in protecting you from infection. So, how does it work? There are two types of immunity, innate and adaptive, also known as cellular immunity. These immune systems protect our bodies inside and out from all different kinds of threats. Let me explain a little bit more about what these are and why they matter. First, let's start with the innate immune system. Innate immunity is the body's primary protection against the outside world. It includes all kinds of physical barriers, including the skin and mucous membranes. These barriers make it more difficult for threats to enter the body. It also includes cells that immediately respond to dangers like injury or infection, but can't respond or distinguish between species of organism. These are general responses, not specific. This function of the lining of our lungs keeps us from getting diseases like pneumonia. Second, our digestive system has vital functions that protect us from infections. Secretions like mucus, bile, and saliva make it extremely difficult for pathogens to colonize and then infect us. Gut microbiota plays a very important role as well. With healthy microbial flora in our gut, pathogens have a hard time finding any room to grow and cause an infection. Third, our skin is a tremendous barrier against infection and has many cells that generally respond to damage like cuts, abrasions, and bruises. When our skin is injured, general responses from immune cells help to kill invading pathogens and recruit higher-level immune cells that can respond specifically to the exact location and nature of an injury. I could go on describing every body system and how it contributes to the innate immune response. From our eyes to our genitourinary system, from our gut to our lungs, we are able to exist because of barriers and general responses to pathogens and invaders of the innate immune system. But that is only the very beginning of the amazingly robust response our immune system coordinates. Now let's talk about the second part of our immune system, the adaptive immune system. Adaptive immunity is more complex and specialized. It consists of two main cell types, B cells and T cells. Receptors on these cells recognize specific antigens and organisms. An antigen is a specific molecule that fits like a lock and a key into a specific B or T cell receptor. The innate immune system presents these antigens to T cells that can then sound the alarm, so to speak, before the infecting organism can cause a disease. The innate and adaptive immune systems work together to protect us from infection, allergen, and injury. In addition to T and B cells, there are two divisions of the adaptive immune response: humoral immunity and cell-mediated immunity. B cells are responsible for our humoral immunity. They create antibodies that can detect and then flag antigens or organisms circulating in the blood and infected tissues. Once the threat is flagged or labeled, the body's cells can recognize and then eliminate the invading infection. Because antibodies are so specific and so small, they can label the organism anywhere they've landed in our body, even far away from the B cell that created the antibody. This is a remarkably well-designed protective element of our immune system. Cell-mediated immunity relies on special types of T cells that recognize and then can kill infected cells. Let's say a virus has infected our lungs. T cells specific to that virus can recognize cells that have been infected and then hijacked by that virus. They then eliminate that cell, recruit an army of immune cells designed to fight the infection, or they can trigger a self-destruct sequence in the infected cell. Whichever it is, the T cells have to act fast before the pathogen in the infected cell has time to replicate, escape, and infect other cells throughout the body. But wait, there's more. Our immune system has something called immune memory. It remembers the old enemies it has beaten and also remembers how to fight them. This immune memory makes future responses against the same threat more efficient and effective. When subsequently infected for a second time with a pathogen we have once responded to, we can create a faster, more powerful response thanks to immune memory. Even if it is 10 years after the fact, 50 years after the fact, it's phenomenal. It may surprise you, but managing stress can be beneficial for your immune system. Stress can have a serious impact on the state of your health. Unmanaged stress can suppress your immune system and actually make your immune response less efficient. Many of you likely experienced this during exams in school. You made it through your exams and then a few days later started feeling under the weather and sick. Maybe you've watched your kids go through this cycle. Some people experience this type of stress for long periods of time. Chronically high stress levels are problematic, not only for our immune systems, but for many other body systems. That's why it's so critical to manage our stress proactively. You'll hear more about this topic in later sessions, so I won't spend much time on it, but it's worth keeping in mind. We've all heard advice about ways to strengthen the immune system. Some of it good and basically universal, some of it uncertain and subjective, and some of it actually kind of bad. Now's a good time to lay out exactly what you can do starting today to give your body the boost it needs to defend itself and you from infection. They may sound basic and self-explanatory, but they are so necessary. First up is something you've likely heard recently. Wash your hands. I cannot stress this enough. Wash your hands, people. Not only does this help prevent the spread of germs to others in unprecedented times like these, but it also limits the power they can have on you. Think about how often you touch your face, giving these microorganisms ready access to enter the body through facial orifices. Washing your hands helps significantly to reduce infection. Next, a few ways we can decrease stress and strengthen our immune system. Eat a healthy diet with fresh fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, and proteins. This kind of diet provides your body with essential nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that you need to properly function, and that especially includes your immune system. Following your diet is your level of activity. Be sure to exercise regularly. Vary it up so you aren't just doing the same activity in the same pace repeatedly. Moderate exercise has repeatedly been shown to be the foundation of a healthy lifestyle. And finally, get adequate sleep. Studies have shown that far too many adults in the US aren't getting the proper amount, not to mention the right type of rest they need every night. On average, adults should be getting approximately 8 hours of rest a night. Most of us don't get enough sleep, and restful sleep is another foundational component of a healthy life and immune system. In conclusion, your immune system is truly incredible and endlessly fascinating. To me, at least, I hope it is to you. It is a robust defense against infection, constantly working to keep you healthy, both by keeping threats out and neutralizing any threats that do make it into your body. By practicing healthy habits and taking care of your body, you can keep your immune system strong and able to handle all the challenges the microbial world throws at us every day. Stay safe.
I sometimes feel like I'm on the magic school bus when I listen to Dr. Osgothorpe because he makes things like mucociliary elevators make sense. It's kind of amazing how our bodies are designed to keep us healthy. From physical barriers to learned fighting mechanisms, we really are protected. Now that we know how immunity works, next up we're getting into some details about what you can do to protect your body, strengthen your immune system, and respond to environmental threats. My family travels a lot. From Zion National Park to Christmas markets in Europe, we've encountered some unfamiliar things on subway benches and bus handrails. Ooh, you probably have too. Protecting, strengthening, and responding are keys to keeping us moving. Dr. David Hill is a founding and executive for doTERRA. With more than 30 years of experience teaching about and researching essential oils, he leads the science and healthcare initiatives on a grand scale. And if you've ever had the opportunity to meet him, you know how much time and attention he devotes to helping each individual feel their very best.
It's great to be with you, and it's now my opportunity to speak with you for a few minutes about one of my favorite oils. I hope it's one of yours as well, doTERRA On Guard, and the role I feel it plays in supporting a healthy immune outcome for you and your families. Now, before I do, I want to take just a minute, and I want to thank Dr. Osgothorpe. It's been my pleasure to work with him now for more than a year. I appreciate his expertise, and in this case, I really appreciate his explanation of immunity. He is an expert in immunity. I'm also appreciative of his expertise in a much broader sense, and the completeness of not just his message that you just heard, but all of the value that he brings to doTERRA. So thank you, Dr. Osgothorpe. It's a pleasure to work with you and have you with us. While we all understand the importance of immunity in our own personal health, I'd like to share some additional thoughts for the role many of our products play in individual health and the regimens that you have for immunity on a regular basis. Now, there's many ways to classify the use of essential oils and the value that they bring. One of the things I would like to point out, and I think this is critical for you to know and understand, our own personal experience. And so your personal experience remains one of the most significant. In spite of everything that you'll hear from me and from others, I would like to encourage you to trust your own experience and expand the depth of that experience. In the coming sessions of this event, you'll hear and learn much, some of which you may be familiar with, and some which will be brand new. In each instance, however, I would like you to know that the recommendations and information that is shared, it's a confluence of science and research and the appropriate models of personal and professional use. On Guard essential oil, the blend, and the additional products within the On Guard line are core and central to a consistent model of resiliency expressed through your immunity. Let's begin by first classifying according to specific needs. Now, you'll remember that Dr. Osgothorpe mentioned the two types of immunity. They were identified previously as innate and cellular. Our body's need for immune response can be categorized as well. The first is an acute response. A good way to think about this is that acute generally suggests that there's an immediate or fast response that's needed. Then there's chronic response. This is thought of as a condition that may require long-term immune activity. And finally, of course, there's our efforts toward individual prevention. Now, more specifically, and a more simplified thought would be to suggest that we're in a constant cycle of immunity, which flows readily between our efforts for prevention and strengthening of the immune system and the need for effective and appropriate responses within the immune system. This also allows us to understand more fully the different types of immunity. For example, our innate or barrier immunity is primarily focused on prevention. Many of the doTERRA products available to you are formulated and developed specifically with this in mind. PB Assist, for example, is perfectly suited to support a healthy gut biome, along with its additional protective health promoting sequences. On Guard hand wash and the sanitizing mist is designed, of course, for healthy hand washing and sanitization. Purify Essential Oil is a wonderful blend, and it's especially effective for its diffusion qualities that helps to refresh the air and the environment. These are all great examples of products available to support your body's innate immunity as a whole. Now, cellular immunity is our response, as I mentioned earlier, to circumstances of immune need. If you're like me, you have several favorites that fit into this category of support. Some of my favorites include frankincense, doTERRA On Guard, and doTERRA Breathe. Many products like the doTERRA On Guard beadlets and throat drops demonstrate some of the innovative ways doTERRA has established essential oils and other oil-infused products as easy to understand, convenient and safe, and simple to use. Now, I don't mean to imply that everything is simple and easy to accommodate and resolve if we just use essential oils. I would like to imply that, and we've all probably had wonderful experiences with the essential oils. But many things are complicated. They're difficult, especially in circumstances of immunity. It makes good sense that we learn to do things consistently that enhance our body's ability to respond efficiently and fully. Later today, Dr. Riggs will share, for example, additional meaningful ways that you can use the essential oils to support yourself, using care practices that incorporate daily and specific episodic usage models. Many, many years ago, as I began using the essential oils, I was really enthusiastic about their use. I remain that way today, though I have to admit that my knowledge and my expertise has markedly changed. Today we know more about the essential oils. We know more about their constituents and the ways they influence the body and the systems that they work within. Much of the study at doTERRA has really been focused on purity, the specifics of the chemistry of the essential oils, and the beneficial influence of that chemistry. Chemistry is one of the more significant ways to classify and understand essential oils. Now, I made a commitment a long time ago to never talk about chemistry, and I'm proud to announce that I have failed 100% of the time. So you guessed it, let's talk for just a minute about chemistry. Now, I want to preface this by saying I really don't feel it's necessary for every person to have this in-depth understanding of chemistry to be able to use essential oils effectively. Knowledge, however, of just a few key concepts can be really helpful. And so my hope is that through a basic understanding of some of the principles I'll explain to you, you'll discover additional uses of essential oils. And maybe your expertise and your knowledge will increase, and it'll give you additional confidence in using the essential oils. Oils which you may have not used before or previously not been familiar with. One thing to be mindful of is that there's immense complexity in the chemistry of essential oils, and each essential oil is unique in its own chemistry. Even seemingly subtle differences in chemistry can create notable and significant changes in the physical attributes of an essential oil, and certainly differences in the benefits that they provide as well. Many essential oils may seem similar in their chemistry, but they react and respond differently. This is one of the fundamental reasons why many of these essential oils are often suggested as ideal to provide healthy support for the body as a whole. We may have many ways to describe and separate essential oils by their chemical constituents. All oils, for example, contain terpene units such as monoterpenes and sesquiterpenes. Now, don't get so caught up in the terms I'm going to explain to you, because I'm going to give you just a few key points to remember. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that aside from terpenes, essential oils can also contain functional groups. These are things like esters and alcohols, ketones, and of course, there's many, many others. For On Guard, I'm going to limit our conversation to just a couple of different things. One is monoterpenes, and then one is 3 specific functional groups, and how each one can relate to your own individual efforts to support a healthy immune capability. So let's begin with monoterpenes. Now, monoterpenes, in the most basic sense, are just a class of hydrocarbons, and are one of several types of hydrocarbons that can be found in essential oils. Now, one you're very familiar with. The most common monoterpene is D-limonene. One of the most common forms of limonene, which is found abundantly in citrus oils. In many citrus oils, D-limonene, it's a dominant compound. And in some cases, like for example, wild orange or grapefruit, it's nearly 100% of the oil's total chemistry. Now, there's been much in the way of study on D-limonene, and you're probably familiar with most of it. And specifically, its influence on glutathione and immunity is well understood through the clinical research. While many essential oils contain monoterpenes, here's a key point, that those rich in D-limonene are strong supporters of a healthy immune response. Now, while all essential oils contain terpenes, such as monoterpenes, essential oils are also identified by compounds within functional groups. Now, it's safe to say in a really general sense, essential oils, all essential oils contain terpenes and functional groups collectively. Several categories of functional groups exist, but there are only 3 that are relevant to our discussion about On Guard: aldehydes, alcohols, and phenols. There are notable and unique differences between each of these functional groups, but it's more pertinent and maybe simpler to suggest that each one has specific action and benefits for once again supporting your body's healthy immune response. Simply put, oils rich in alcohol, aldehydes, and phenols, and for that matter, we could also now add D-limonene as a monoterpene, are good supporters of the immune system as a whole. And remember that strengthening and supporting the immune system is a part of the cycle of immunity. Earlier, I suggested that many essential oils and essential oil products may be helpful in supporting the immune system. We also discussed that many times we have acute and immediate needs within that. Some oils are formulated to address those needs specifically. For example, Breathe is a wonderful blend for easy breathing. Single oils like cinnamon, thyme, clove, rosemary, and eucalyptus may be used individually for specific needs unique to your own personal circumstance. Something I always appreciate most about the essential oils is that oftentimes they act fast and can help provide comfort and relief consistently. Remember the value of your own experience and the experience of other trusted individuals and sources. One trusted source I would suggest is the doTERRA chemistry wheel. Now here again, we're going to go into chemistry just a little bit, but I want you to learn how to use the chemistry wheel, and here's why it's so important. We categorize very carefully each essential oil for its dominant chemical characteristics. The wheel is separated into terpene units, both monoterpenes and sesquiterpenes, along, of course, with each functional group. Each one is represented on the wheel. In each section, you'll find essential oils you're familiar with, such as cinnamon, under the aldehyde section of the wheel. But you'll also note that additional oils could be easily considered for similar benefit. This is a good and productive way to take advantage of all of our many essential oils. With that basic understanding, let's look at the formulation of On Guard. It's important to note that several benefits emerge when blending essential oils. On Guard was one of the first blends we created in doTERRA. I believe it's a must-have for every home. In my opinion, and through my own personal experience of essential oil, it remains one of my most trusted and consistent and reliable sources for not just my own health, but for the health of my family. So first, let's look at the specific formulation of On Guard. You should recognize that On Guard was formulated following the basic principles we discussed earlier. It contains wild orange, which includes high amounts of monoterpenes, more than 90% D-limonene. Clove essential oil contains high amounts of a specific compound known as eugenol. It's a phenol, and it supports the body's natural ability to be resilient. Cinnamon has high amounts of an aldehyde known as cinnamonaldehyde. Among other benefits, it's been shown to support the immune system response by inhibiting specific communication strains. Other oils, like rosemary and eucalyptus, contain an alcohol, which can be clarifying and supports healthy immune activity. All of these oils are found in the doTERRA On Guard blend. The blending of essential oils at doTERRA is a well-defined practice. It encompasses our knowledge of science, of chemistry, and the best methods of artful technique. Experts in chemistry, human physiology, and safety all work together to ensure the highest quality and specific outcomes for each blend that we create. While this all takes great skill, there are additional reasons why blending oils in this way, I believe, is essential. Blending essential oils, and especially in the case of On Guard, produces synergistic value, synergy. It's a word that's often spoken of as a key benefit of essential oils. Let me explain it a little bit further. Diversity of chemistry that resides in a pure single oil naturally is greatly enhanced when oils are blended together. The most common phrase shared around synergy is the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So in order to understand synergy wholly, it's good to first understand the basics of metabolism. Now, I'm really not being very fair to you, because first I said, hey, I'm going to talk about chemistry, but don't worry. Now I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to talk about metabolism, but don't worry. It's not going to be difficult, and it'll help you to understand a key point why I believe blended essential oils are significant. Now, all essential oils, we know that they're eventually metabolized by the liver, which can produce secondary and tertiary metabolites that create additional benefit through chemical reaction or response in the body as a whole. For example, limonene, which is found in citrus oils, we talked about it earlier, is primarily metabolized into pyrrolic acid. Although limonene itself is highly efficacious, pyrrolic acid mimics the effects of limonene and can demonstrate a stronger, longer-lasting effect. Another example is linalool acetate, which is present in high amounts in lavender, clary sage, bergamot, and other essential oils. Enzymes in the body metabolize linalool acetate to linalool. Based on these examples, it's easy to understand why all essential oils can exhibit synergy. In the case of a blended oil, however, there's a few notable differences in how we view synergy. Let me share a specific concept associated with On Guard. The blending of multiple oils, we already said, greatly increases the number and diversity of individual constituents, which may act on different targets within a single biochemical pathway, or in due course, multiple biochemical pathways for a wider range of immune response and support than is achieved by any single oil or constituent on their own. Now, if you don't understand what I just said, let me make it really, really simple. What I said is that On Guard really works. On Guard is really valuable, and it's because of how the body metabolizes it, and because of the diversity in the chemistry, we have greater outcome and we have much greater benefit. This chemical synergy is what separates blends and single oils and separates essential oils as a whole from other forms of natural health practices. Now, one of the things I've consistently taught is that essential oils should become an integral part of your daily health routine. Though we may use oils based on episodic need, additional advantages are always gained when we learn to use them consistently. The metabolic synergy displayed by On Guard also lends itself to the safety of essential oils and blends in general, beyond the obvious nature of its quality and purity. Many of the products we discussed today, in the context of immunity, are often thought of for an as-needed basis. On Guard is an oil blend, along with other products in the On Guard family, are really and ideally used in a daily maintenance model. While all essential oils are metabolized through the liver by enzymatic activity, blended oils often reduce metabolic enzyme depletion, primarily because of their chemical diversity. Metabolism still occurs, but may occur over a broader spectrum of associated enzymes. In short, we are less likely to overwhelm the body's metabolic capacity. That means greater benefit. On Guard is a wonderful oil that can help with the cycle of immunity, preventing, strengthening, and responding. When used with our other natural products, some which I have mentioned and some which you'll hear about a little bit later, it can be a powerful and efficacious tool for you and your family to use all year long. Now, just one last thought. Earlier in our discussion today, I mentioned that I have a high level of confidence. And my confidence was appropriate, not just due to the quality and purity of doTERRA oils and other products, but also because of the research engaged in by ourselves and other institutions, much of which, as you are aware, has been published and is available. On Guard has been studied in a number of different environments and research models, all demonstrating its unique and strong value. I'm excited for you to hear from Dr. Nicole Stevens. I'm excited to call her Dr. Nicole Stevens because she's worked very hard and very diligently in her area of study to become Dr. Stevens, and many others who will share some of their more compelling findings. It's been my pleasure to be with you today. I'm looking forward to opportunities in the future where we can be together and share in a more personal way. May each of you and your families and associates be blessed in all of your endeavors. Be safe and be well. I look forward to a great future with you together.